Hey there, Larry Richardson here with today's episode of Common Sense News, September the 5th, 2019. Today is segment 5 or part 5 of our series covering words citizen, people, person, inhabitant, etc. in the Constitution, especially as it relates to voting. We're covering the 14th Amendment today. Now, the 14th Amendment was passed right after the Civil War ended, and it did several things. Section 1 is the one that establishes the birthright citizenship of people that are born in the United States are, according to the 14th Amendment, citizens of the United States if they are under its jurisdiction. Also, it states that those citizens of the United States are also citizens of the states in which they reside. Then, second section of the 14th Amendment talks about how the representation in Congress is going to be figured out according to the populations in the various states, and we'll get into that in more detail in a minute. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment talks about the requirement that you can't be in the service of or having served a foreign entity that was against the United States and then serve in Congress, either the House or the Senate. However, it does leave the option that the House and the Senate, by 2/3 vote, can approve such a person to serve in the House or Senate. Then in Section 4, it talks about the validity of the debt of the United States to those that served or got payments or pensions or something because of some service they did for the United States. So let's go back and zero in on the voting thing about the representation, the number of representatives in Congress, and the voting. Section 2 is 2 sentences. The first one is fairly short and fairly simple. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. Okay, so the total number of persons, age, no age separation or anything here, total number of persons, not citizens, total number of persons in those states determine the representatives. Then we have to look at the second sentence. It says, but when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, or the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislature thereof, is denied, any of the male inhabitants of such state being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged, except for participation in rebellion or other crime. The basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in such state. Okay, that's very, even going through it slow and trying to partition it off is very confusing. That's a long sentence. And what it starts off with is the first sentence, the representation will be according to the number of persons, not counting Indians. Then the second citizen throws this caveat in here about the state's right and the state's ability to deny and abridge certain people's right to vote in certain elections. Now, we know from the previous episode or previous part that there are specific things such as age, sex, race, color, and previous condition of servitude that poll taxes to some degree in some circumstances, that the states cannot use those specific elements or those specific reasons for denying or abridging somebody's right to vote. But here it starts talking about this rebellion or other crime. Now, we do know that some states do not allow felons to vote. There's nothing in the federal Constitution that says that if you've been convicted of a felony, you can't vote. However, this would indicate that the federal government recognizes that the states have that privilege and that authority to deny felons, because of this wording, other crime. They can deny felons from voting. But if they do that, then they take the number of felons that have been denied and they figure out the proportion of those from age 21. And I would say that because of the 26th Amendment about age, that it goes back to 18 here. It should be 18 should apply in this section now. If the states use any reason, remember, only the ones that are listed in 4 amendments we've already talked about in the Constitution, are the states not allowed to use those as reasons to deny someone's or abridge someone's right to vote. If the states come up with another way or another reason to deny somebody the right to vote, there's nothing in the Constitution that keeps them from doing that. But if they do that, if they do use this other crime thing that's mentioned here, or any other reason they might come up with, then it does affect their representation in Congress, because the more people the states deny the right to vote, the fewer count they get to figure out their representation in Congress. That's about as close as I can get to explaining what Section 2 of the 14th Amendment is all about. As always, don't forget that our nation is under siege by Sharia. Look at STAB. Join STAB, www.ourstab.com, to help us force the politicians to face the issue and fix the problem. Have a great day.